Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has expressed confidence that the Jamaican dollar will revalue against the U.S. currency. His comment follows weeks of anxiety over the local currency losing value to the U.S. dollar. Speaking at the Jamaica Labour Party's Kingston Western Constituency Conference yesterday, Mr. Holness said the market will correct itself.
Yes, we are aware of it. Yes, we have concerns, but we have put in place a new economic model to manage foreign exchange. And it is not just to manage the foreign exchange rate, but we have now shifted the focus and attention and priority to a more important rate, one that matters to you more, and that is the inflation rate.
Meanwhile, financial analyst and opposition Senator Dr. Andre Horton says the government and the central bank need to get over the notion that the daily rate of exchange is not as important as the inflation rate. He was speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica this morning.
There's a myth out there about we don't have to worry about the exchange rate because inflation is the important thing. The BOJ think that they can sit down there in offices and say that the exchange rate is not important and it is the inflation is more important. It doesn't make any sense to us because the prices we face when we go to the supermarket, the prices we face when we go to the shop, the prices we face when we shop online are escalated because of a depreciating currency.
The country's tourism sector continues to record improvements with higher rates for hotel rooms and the country's return on investments. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett made the comments while speaking with the journalists recently. TVJ's Prince Moore has details.
A declining dollar, but at least one sector is reaping successes from it: tourism. Portfolio Minister Ed Bartlett says the sector has seen significant improvements in the past few years, the main being the return on investment, ROI. He noted that while certain fiscal incentives aren't given by the government, there are other mechanisms which are put in place which attracts investors to the hotel sector. He says those mechanisms have led to Jamaica recording higher rates of return compared with Caribbean neighbors.
The internal rate of return, for example, on tourism investment in Jamaica is higher than most of the areas in the Caribbean. And we were also able to get statistics yesterday which indicated that Jamaica's ADRs and RevPAR were higher and in fact increasing on a daily basis because we are getting better prices for our rooms in Jamaica.
Mr. Bartlett noted that significantly more investments are slated for the island in the next decade.
It doesn't represent a wish list. It doesn't represent what we call suspects. They are hard prospects because these are people who have already bought lands and are in the process of getting approval through NEPA and the various other regulatory agencies of Jamaica. So we know that this is going to happen, and this is going to be an explosion for us. And it is inviting me to review, and this is why we are reimagining tourism in Jamaica, because we're going into a new period when it's going to be literally doubling what we now have.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Still on tourism, the prospects for the sector in the eastern section of the island will be a major factor in the construction of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has instructed the National Works Agency, NWA, to make adjustments to the road network to allow for tourism infrastructure to be put in place.
I can't figure for the life of me when our forefathers were making the roads in Jamaica, why they cut the roads so close to the coast, that we don't have the land for tourism and resort development.
Mr. Holness says this is necessary to capitalize on the money that will be spent on the project.
In building such a road, it can't be that the tax burden is just going to be on the citizens. You have to have businesses in the area to justify that level of loan and tax burden. So I want you to understand, we're not just building a road. It is a comprehensive plan to ensure that the road and the expenditure is sustainable.
He was speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the project in Yala St. Thomas on Saturday. The nation's retired teachers are facing a pension pickle. The alarm was raised by the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Owen Speed. According to Mr. Speed, several of the country's retired teachers are dying without being paid their pension. The JTA president added that new teachers are also not being paid within a reasonable time. TVJ's O'Shane Masters reports.
The financial woes of the nation's teachers is a consistent talking point, with many now opting for greener pastures to demonstrate their frustration over inadequate pay. Those who are dependent on pension are now feeling the pinch, according to the head of the JTA. So bad is the situation that some die without a penny, according to Mr. Speed.
I am getting information that we have teachers who retire for more than a year and then they die before they get a cent from the government.
Now the government is being called upon to act. The JTA boss has a timeline as to when pensions should be paid.
I am lighting the fire and I am opening it up because it is important that we say to the government, as soon as teachers retire, they must start getting the pension the next month.
The consequences are grave for delayed payment, as health concerns abound.
You cannot do without your medication. In other words, if you retire and there is no pension coming in, how are you going to buy your medication? In other words, the government might be saying to you, it no matter if you're dead before we can get to pay you.
Now, that is a situation with retired teachers. But what though of new teachers? Mr. Speed declared they too are being squeezed despite facing mounting expenses.
I'm getting more and more concerns that the new teachers, when they start teaching, they don't get paid for 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. But they expect these teachers to dress up and come to school on time. And it is cruelty. Why you think? And so you can just imagine if a teacher is there for 2 months, no pay, paying bus fare every day, finding lunch money to come, finding jacket and something to dress up in and look good. No money. Light bill is to be paid.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break, but stay with us. More stories right after these messages. Welcome back, and continuing the news now. The St. Mary Health Department recently closed its abattoir as it failed to meet minimum public health standards. Public Health Inspector Albert Brown says his department has been getting a lot of complaints about persons who are influencing certain conditions within the slaughterhouse. For example, butchers who are slaughtering animals but are not trained to do so. He said with predial larceny a major challenge in the parish, he's concerned that from those instances, unscrupulous persons could be selling contaminated meat.
In a meeting with the butchers and representative from the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, along with a team from the Public Health Department, agreed on a timeline to rectify the critical deficiencies. It was also agreed that the Municipal Corporation would seek to make available a police officer on Fridays in order to assist with keeping unauthorized persons out of the abattoir.
The Food Industry Task Force has joined the Heart Foundation of Jamaica in recommending that nutrition labels be implemented on the front of packaged nutrition label system in Jamaica's food industry. This is necessary as Jamaicans continue to consume foods high in fats, sugar and salt. TVJ's Shamela Pullen has more.
If I think you want give me in my bag juice, now give me none of that.
Data from the Ministry of Health show that 1 in every 2 Jamaicans, or 52% of Jamaicans, are obese or overweight. It's also said that 78%, or 1 in every 5 deaths in Jamaica, is caused from non-communicable diseases, NCDs. Unhealthy nutrition plays a major role in the development of these diseases.
In Jamaica, like the rest of the world, our diets are now dominated by imported, processed, and ultra-processed pre-packaged foods, many of which have high levels of added sugars, sodium, saturated fat, and refined carbohydrates.
The current nutrition labeling at the back of products is not mandatory in Jamaica. Even where they do have labels, it's not easily understood and can be misleading to the consumers. It is why the push is now on for the front of package nutrition label system.
The top left with the blue border, where it talks about 1 cup per serving. Then to the right of that, you have the UK traffic light system, where you have grades of healthiness, which you have color-coded. You also have information added to that. You have, if you go down to the next line, you have what looks like, I hope you can see, looks like a keyhole. That's a Nordic keyhole system that was introduced in Scandinavia.
This approach is already being used around the world, with at least 30 countries using this strategy.
We know that the system increases consumer awareness at the point of consumption. It promotes healthier choices, so it promotes the kind of behavior which will improve the chances of the right kind of foods going into our homes. And it also, as I said before, has the potential and has been seen elsewhere to feed back to the food industry so that they can produce healthier products.
Ms. Chen and Dr. Marshall were both speaking at the launch of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica's What Senior Food Mass Media campaign on Thursday. Shimela Pullen, TVJ News.
Time now for sports. The Reggae Boys will close out their CONCACAF Nations League group on Monday against Guyana at the Montego Bay Sports Complex. Now, the Reggae Boys have already topped the group, thus securing a place back to League One and automatic qualification to the 2021 Gold Cup. The match is slated for 8 p.m.
The Reggae Boys have been having things their own way so far in the CONCACAF Nations League, and things are not expected to change on Monday. But despite all objectives being met, Coach Theodore Tapper Whitmore will be ringing in the changes.
We want to treat every game serious. The only good thing is that we'll be including some players who haven't been regular. We have goalkeeper Chambers who definitely will make his first start for the national team. We have other couple of players, and they just have to go out there and get the job done.
And with the team climbing up the FIFA rankings, JFF President Michael Ricketts says there's a lot to be thankful for.
Pretty excited at the prospects and very elated at what we would have achieved. When we got into office, we were ranked at 77th. Now we are at 45. So we have a lot to be thankful for. Must say congratulations to my technical staff.
But Ricketts is aware of what is needed to be done for the Reggae Boys to stay in the top 50 ahead of June next year in order to remain in the automatic position for World Cup qualifiers.
What happened now is that we're going to need good competition. So we're going to need to play some tough teams. But at the same time, between now and June, we want to ensure that, like I say, we be very strategic and play teams that are manageable. And certainly between June and December, when the qualifiers really start, then you can really look for some tough opponents.
The next FIFA date is in March, and the JFF have started talks with Nigeria about securing a friendly international for that date.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production team, have a good afternoon and have a great week.